Now, we already know about Joe Biden, that racist son of a gun. I got a couple stories I need to do about Joe Biden coming up soon. His old boy Dick Cheney, happy for him to run, to the point that he's doing his little, he's trying to be a little comedic about it. But we already know Joe Biden. Joe Biden was bus segregation. Joe Biden, proudest achievement was not the bill to help women. It was the bill, the crime bill. I already did a piece on that. I'm not going to do it again. It was to systematically destroy the black community, and he is proud to this very day. Got on The View and said, I'm proud of my record. No, you ought to be ashamed of your record. That's why you would never get my vote. But we're going to take a little bit and look at this because I know it's going long. But I want you to hear Bernie Sanders and talk about this crime bill, because a lot of people say, well, you know, Joe Biden crafted the crime bill. Hillary Clinton was the spokesperson for the crime bill. Bill Clinton signed it in law. But come on, Rob, look, your boy Bernie Sanders, he signed off for it. Yeah, he did. And that was wrong for him to do. And if you want to see him as a white supremacist because of that, you got all the right to do it, because that was a wrong decision. But as you know, majority of the bills that go through Congress are catch-22 bills. What do you mean by catch-22 bills? They're so full of pork, they're so full of crap in it that, I mean, if you vote against it, there's something in there that you should vote for, but it's in a bill that you should not vote for. I call them catch-22, majority of them catch-22 bills. They're not good for this country, yet we have it. They always put some piece of fat pork in these bills. So it's a catch-22. Dang if you do, dang if you don't. And Bernie Sanders, when it came to that crime bill, was in the catch-22. Now, don't get me wrong. Bernie Sanders tried to put an amendment to deal with some of this mess in the crime bill. If he didn't vote for the crime bill, if he voted against it, then there's the Women Violence Against Women Act that feminists would have been all over him left and right. So what do you do? See, that's why I could never run for Congress, because after I come through that bill, I know it's going to be some pork in the bill, and I'm going to have all hands on deck to go through the bill to find the pork and then go back to the Senate floor to try to amend the crap that's in the bill, and that is not easy to do, especially when they got a time limit on the bill. All right, so before I go into this, recently, Bernie Sanders was on MSNBC, and all they tried to do was focus on the fact that, okay, Joe Biden is in the race. Democrats don't need to be talking bad and giving Trump a weapon to beat down whoever wins the nomination. Now, baby, what you don't understand is that this is a competition. Somebody is fighting to be the nominee. All hands on deck. For you to not go after your opponent on his freaking record makes you a punk politician, and you're not worth the salt, and you're not worth nobody's vote. How are you going to stand up for me against the Republicans, and you can't stand up for me against Democrats that's trying to stab me in the back? But let's listen to this.
Okay. Senator, let me turn the page and just ask you about, I'm sure you've seen our new CNN poll out today. It shows you and former Vice President Joe Biden as the front runners in this current race. And my question to you.
Now, let's stop. Right here. This is political bullcrap. This is crafting the narrative. They know they can't do what they did to Bernie Sanders during the 2016 primaries by using delegate counts, and people never put in their vote. But they got top choice for the nominee, potential Democratic voters. Potential Democratic voters. They didn't say whether these potential Democratic voters are registered Democratic voters. Potential doesn't mean that they may become Democrats. Not that many people are becoming Democrats. Potential could be they're Democratic voters, but they don't know if they're going to vote. In this SSRS poll, I call it the Social Security response poll. This is a poll, CNN poll. And CNN is pro-business Democrats, not social Democrats. And Joe Biden is a business Democrat. So we got to make it look like Joe Biden got more votes than poll numbers way higher than Bernie Sanders. So they got him 24-point lead over Bernie Sanders. You sit there and believe that mess? And if you look at the SSRS poll, you'll find out the majority of those people were elderly potential Democratic voters. They did not poll any younger Democratic voters. They didn't poll any middle class. Majority of these numbers are coming from elderly white and black women. Talking about scummy, slimy news organization. Trump is right. CNN is fake news. But don't get all happy. So is Fox. Let me keep going.
Will your campaign be more about the contrast that you've clearly been drawing with Biden, or will it be more focused on who can best defeat President Trump?
Well, I think both, to be honest with you. Look, in my view, Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country. He's a pathological liar. He's a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe. This is somebody who should not be president. I will do everything I can if I'm the Democratic nominee to defeat him, and I will support, if I lose, somebody else, whether it's Joe, whether it's somebody else. We're going to defeat Donald Trump.
Now, this is where a lot of people get off the Bernie Sanders train. Not only are you not taking the black vote seriously, and not only are you not taking this reparation thing seriously, not only are you blowing black people off about how this thing is going to be done, you're trying to say how you're going to support it and us, instead of us telling you how you should support it. You want people to side with you and push for the bottom line is whoever's the nominee. You pretty much want to do what you did with Hillary Clinton. You're basically saying already, which shows that you are not a revolutionist, which shows that you're not for a political revolution, that you, before the fight even start, that you're going to cave in to anybody who win and support that candidate to try to defeat Trump. Instead of saying, no, look, I may have to run independent, but I understand you got to play the game. And you're going to say this. My ticket is when you know it's time for you to try to defeat both of these failed candidates and you know you're in a position to do it, because votes don't lie unless they're rigged. Paper votes don't lie. That's why we need to have ranked choice voting, and we need to go back to paper documents. Because if Bernie ran independent in the general election, if he failed, if the Democrats screw him and they trying to set it up to screw him, I say 9 times out of 10 he's going to get stabbed in the back and screwed again, and he's okay. He haven't gotten a knife out of his back from the last one yet. What do you mean by that? To take the knife out of your back is to say, who in the hell stabbed me? I need to know who stabbed me, where they got the knife, what did I do, why you stabbed me, and I'm gonna hold that person accountable for putting the knife in my back. No, he's gonna let the person stab him and walk on to stab other people. And now he's putting himself in a position where he's willing to get stabbed again. And they setting him up with all these people running for office. And the Miss Smug Lady right here, I'm here to let you know, Miss Ma'am, only you elitists who are Democratic leaning care about defeating Trump. We got bigger issues than Trump. We've been dealing with Trump, black people have been dealing with Trump all our lives. Majority of our president has been racist demagogues, some up front, some just low key. I fear the low key one more than I fear the up front racist. So it's not about just defeating Trump. No, right now, Bernie Sanders need to make stark differences between him and his opponent. All of them need to do it. And he need to say, this is what I'm going to do for my community. This is what I'm going to do for the American people. It's totally different from Joe Biden's message, we're better than this. See, Joe Biden's not going to have a platform. He's not going to have any solution. He's not going to cape for working people. He's not going to cape, even though he's act like in it, going to unions, think that's going to make him seem like working class Joe. When he was over there, and I'm going to do a video on that, he didn't know what the heck he was doing. He's out of his zone. He's not Bernie Sanders when it comes to the unions. When Bernie Sanders at the union, because I was at one with my union when Bernie Sanders was there, he was talking those people language. And those people got fired up. It's just the truth. Joe Biden can't do that. He's faking it and hoping all you guys buy it. Look, I'm not even buying the Bernie Sanders thing, because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me again, shame on me. He's not gonna fool me again. I'm not behind no politician's rhetoric right now. I don't care how good it sounds. Girl, you ain't gonna talk all that sweet stuff, talk me in the bed, and then all of a sudden you go to sleep. It ain't happening. Girl, you gonna wake your behind up. Let me stop.
But on the other hand, I think what I want to see in the Democratic primary is not, personal attacks or any of that stuff. What I want to see is an issue-oriented campaign. And Joe and I have very different pasts in terms of how we have voted, and very different vision for the future. And that is something that we should be discussing. For example, all right, I voted against the war in Iraq. In fact, helped lead the opposition to what turned out to be the worst foreign policy disaster in the modern history of America. Joe voted for it. I voted against NAFTA. I voted against permanent normal trade relations with China, 2 trade agreements which cost us millions of good-paying jobs. Joe supported those agreements. I voted against the deregulation of Wall Street. Joe supported that legislation, which I think, many people agree with me, some don't, led to the Wall Street collapse of 2008.
Senator, let me jump.
See, she could not wait. The man is saying, look, I ain't got to attack him personally, but I would be wrong to not talk about his record, just like I would be wrong not to talk about Bernie Sanders' record. Yeah, they want him, please don't talk about the record, don't tell the truth, because they can't handle the truth. And they fear the truth is going to cause Joe Biden to not be the front runner. Why? Because they don't want Bernie Sanders as front runner. See, Bernie Sanders is on the catch-22. He's trying to please everybody but the people he need to please. He's trying to please the media. He's going too far trying to please these freaking Democrats. And he even trying to please some of his brothers on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans, instead of pleasing the people who are going to vote for him. And right now, the people that has the power to put him over the top, he's not doing what he can to please them. And why? Because it seems like he's not doing anything to show that he cares. To sit down and say, here's what I'm going to do for you. Not what I think should be done to help you. I've listened to you and this is what I want to do for you. Let me keep going.
Ben, because I hear you on the contrasts, and there are a number of them, but the one thing that both of you voted for and what Joe Biden helped write is the 1994 crime bill. Even former President Bill Clinton, who signed it into law, says it went too far, right? It expanded mandatory minimums, it boosted the nation's prison population, it disproportionately impacted African Americans and Hispanics. So my question to you, Senator Sanders, is do you regret that vote?
Let me give you my answer. Go to YouTube today and find out what I said literally.
Well, I'm looking at you right now, Senator. Tell me if you regret it.
1 second. I vote.
Now, Sanders has a point here. I don't give a care what people say, whether I'm trying to cape for Bernie Sanders or not. It don't look like I'm caping. I'm just telling the freaking truth. He has a point here. Now, what he's trying to do, because they want him to just admit something and submit to the fact that he supported the bill, and he did, but what people don't, but they would never tell you that the bill was full of pork and there has something in there that if you didn't support certain aspects, if you denied the entire bill, there was so much pork in there that it put most people in the catch-22, like Bernie Sanders. See, in politics, you have to find some way to force people to vote for your bill. That's how dirty politics is. So the bill could be horrible, but they put something in there that's nice, and that if it forces you to vote for that bill just to get the nice parts. Now understand this, in this was a few things that had a nice part. What Bernie Sanders did at that time, and they're not going to tell you, is Bernie Sanders went back to that hall and tried to get some amendments done that's going to help take away some of the struggle of that crime bill to affect the black community. Whether you like it or not, whether, I mean, you can call him whatever you want, but this is true, and I'm going to let him say what he's going to say, and I'm going to show you what I mean.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, let me begin with a profound remark. 2 + 2 = 4. In other words, there is a logical and rational process called cause and effect. In terms of Newtonian physics, that means that every action causes an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, fellow members of the House, there are reasons why things happen, as controversial as that statement may be. A farmer neglects to tend and care for his fields, it is likely that that crop will fail. A company neglects to invest in research and development, it is likely that that company will not be profitable. In a similar way, a society which neglects, which oppresses, and which disdains a very significant part of its population, which leaves them hungry, impoverished, unemployed, uneducated, and utterly without hope, will, through cause and effect, create a population which is bitter, which is angry, which is violent, and a society which is crime-ridden. And that is the case in America, and it is the case in other countries throughout the world. Mr. Chairman, how do we talk about the very serious crime problem in America without mentioning that we have the highest rate of childhood poverty in the industrialized world by far, with 22% of our children in poverty and 5 million kids hungry today? Do you think maybe that might have some relationship to crime? How do we talk about crime when this Congress is prepared this year to spend 11 times more for the military than for education? When 21% of our kids drop out of high school, when a recent study told us that twice as many young workers now earn poverty wages as 10 years ago, when the gap between the rich and the poor is growing wider, and when the rate of poverty continues to grow. Do you think maybe that might have some relationship to crime? Mr. Chairman, it is my firm belief that clearly there are people in our society who are horribly violent, who are deeply sick and sociopathic, and clearly these people must be put behind bars in order to protect society from them. But it is also my view that through the neglect of our government and through a grossly irrational set of priorities, we are dooming today tens of millions of young people to a future of bitterness, misery, hopelessness, drugs, crime, and violence. And, Mr. Speaker, all the jails in the world, and we already imprison more people per capita than any other country, and all of the executions. Can I ask for one more moment, please?
I give the gentleman 30 seconds. We'll run.
All the jails in the world and all the executions in the world will not make that situation right. We can either educate or electrocute, we can create meaningful jobs, rebuilding our society, or we can build more jails. Mr. Speaker, let us create a society of hope and compassion, not one of hate and vengeance.
Voted for that bill because it included the Violence Against Women's Act and it included a ban on assault weapons. And Brooke, you would be asking me today, Senator, why did you not vote for a ban on assault weapons? Why did you vote against?
Yeah, and he's right, because if he would say I voted no, you said, but Senator, all the other ones voted yes for the crime bill and you said no. What you did saying no was you voted against the Violence Against Women Act. Are you for violence against women, Senator Sanders? Because I think you were. If you were not for violence, if you were non-violent, you would have signed that bill.
Without objection, so ordered. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, it is disturbing that the death of Nicole Simpson, a tragedy affecting the rich and the famous, should be necessary to force us to take notice of the horror of domestic violence. Mr. Speaker, 80% of homicides in Vermont involve domestic partners or family members. All of the 6 women slain in Vermont during 1993 died at the hands of an intimate partner or a family member. Nationally, 3 out of every 10 women who are victims of homicide were murdered by a spouse or an intimate partner, and every 15 seconds, a woman is battered by her husband or a boyfriend. Mr. Speaker, we have 17 programs in Vermont that work with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, and 92% of the people who provide those services are volunteers. These volunteers, most of whom are women, are doing an extraordinary job in counseling and supporting the victims of domestic violence. But they need help. Mr. Speaker, I have a number of serious problems with the crime bill, but one part of it that I vigorously support is the Violence Against Women Act. We urgently need the 1.8.
All right, so you hear that. He said, I got a lot of problems with the crime bill. Problems. But this is the part that I support.
Urgently need the $1.8 billion in this bill to combat the epidemic of violence against women on the streets and in the homes of America. Thank you.
Are you for gun violence, Bernie Sanders? Are you for less control of in the gun law? Because if you were for it, you would have signed that bill. So like I said, majority of bills are catch-22, and most people know how politics work. There's no straight bill. They got so much pork in it. So what you have to do is you go and take certain parts in the bill that are good and try to either take that out and do it separately before you vote on the bill, or you put an amendment to alleviate the bad part of the bill from taking a harsher effect that it normally would take if you didn't put in an amendment. All right, so give me a moment.
Asking you today if you regret your vote.
Sometimes you have legislation which includes very good stuff and very bad stuff.
Exactly.
That legislation included very bad stuff. I had to make the choice whether I voted to ban assault weapons, something that I promised the people of Vermont I would, and I also had to vote to make sure that we had a violence against women provision in there. If you see what I said on the floor at that time, I talked about mass incarceration. I talked about capital punishment.
Right, and we're going to go take a look at that because that's what they do. That's Congress' cunning, sly way to force you to vote for something that you don't want to vote for. Now, did Bernie Sanders plan on the crime bill doing all those things to the black community? Oh, yeah, he did, because he's an old bigot, old racist. Oh, I don't know. I can't speak for a person's heart. I can't speak for the person's mind, but I can tell you that according to his actions on the Senate floor, he was coming hard against that part of the crime bill on what they were planning on doing through that crime bill, like the 3-strike laws and things like that. Like I said, you can look at a person's past, present, and current things. Now, I'm going to go back to this in a moment, not this, but as you saw, he was on the floor lobbying against it first, and then he tried to push an amendment to deal with that, to alleviate that stuff from happening, because he understood that the combination between the crime bill and welfare reform bill was a systematic 1 + 1 = 2. He knew that you take away the welfare, then these struggling parents who are already struggling, their kids are already struggling, they're going to do things to try to have a roof over their head, food to eat, and things like that. This is happening to this very day. Now, was this all a facade? Was this all a sham back then? Well, facade, sham or not, he was the only one on that floor fighting to get that amendment done and saying this was wrong. At that time, we did have black politicians there. And none of them was coming out as hard as Bernie Sanders against the way this crime bill was written up. Nothing wrong with having a crime bill. It's what is in that bill and who it targets. We got to have something to deal with crime. But it's what's in the bill and what it targets. Well, he did admit, I hate this thing. But because you got this in it, I only can show you what I do support. I don't support all this other stuff. But since you're not gonna, I'm trying to push an amendment to deal with the other stuff, but I do support this and I do support that in the bill. Now, like I said, politics in Washington, D.C. is dirty and nasty. They'll force you into doing something. But maybe Bernie Sanders was not forced into this. Maybe he was happy to sign that crime bill. And maybe he's happy to say no to reparations. But this thing I do know, he's doing more for the people of America. His policies do help out more for the people of America than Joe Biden, than Donald Trump. Now, the thing is, will he get elected? Will he become the nominee? Will he be able to implement those things? He has great policies that help all Americans. The thing is, will he get elected to get the opportunity to push these? And will they elect a Congress that's going to help him push things? That's a whole different story. So all you people, some of you people getting mad because, oh man, it look like they're going to mess up Bernie. I mean, let me tell you something. Bernie can get elected. That doesn't mean those policies are going to get implemented. Now, he is smart enough to have his own organization to go out and get people elected that believe like he believes. That's smart legislation. Trump didn't do that. Obama didn't do that. Obama for America was supposed to be that, but it seemed like Obama wasn't so for America, especially black America. Now, right now, we're letting you know right now that black America need a separate program to deal with some situations that's going in our community. Your Help All program, Benefit All American program will not deal with that situation. That's why they're saying I'm not voting for anybody. Don't expect me to go to the voting booth. Now, me personally, I ain't voting for no Democrat, just letting you know. Unless they support the things that I support. I don't care if they got a snowball chance in hell. I've always been that way. I'd rather lend my support to somebody who's supporting me, big or small. And if we get enough people to support that person, their small can become big. I always said that. I said about the Green Party and any other party. If you lend your support to somebody who is a small support to you, but if you lend your support to them, their small support grows tremendously. That's why Bernie Sanders should have ran as an independent, because he has huge support. But now he punked out to the Democratic Party and submitted himself to them, and he's caping for them, and he sold out to them. And you just heard him say it just now that if I lose, I'm going to support the Democratic nominee, and he ain't lying about that. He lacks the gut to challenge them and say I'm gonna run independent, because he's submitted himself to the bylaws of the DNC, who can't stand him.
Yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to the McCulloch Amendment and, in fact, in strong opposition to this so-called crime prevention bill. Mr. Speaker, let us be honest. This is not a crime prevention bill. This is a punishment bill, a retribution bill, a vengeance bill. All over the industrialized world now, countries are saying, let us put an end to state murder. Let us stop capital punishment. But here what we're talking about is more and more capital punishment. What we're discussing now is an issue where some of our friends are saying we're not getting tough enough on the criminals. But my friends, we have the highest percentage of people in America in jail per capita of any industrialized nation on earth. We've beaten South Africa. We've beaten the Soviet Union. What do we have to do? Put half the country behind bars? Mr. Speaker, instead of talking about punishment and vengeance, let us have the courage to talk about the real issue. How do we get to the root causes of crime? How do we stop crime, which is in fact a very, very serious problem in this country? And Mr. Speaker, I've got a problem. I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. And they say, we're getting tough on crime. If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's not keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
So Rob, why are you showing me this, man? The man said no. The man said no, he's not for reparations. Actually, this whole thing was not about reparations. We know what the man said. You got to continue. And see, that's the thing about it. Let me prop this up real quick. This is the thing about political posturing. How do you apply political pressure on people? Well, you do what you're doing. The ADS community is doing the right thing, and they're doing it properly, and if everybody's on code, they can get some things done. There's no presidential candidate that sides automatically with black issues. I don't think there ever been, not even with Barack Obama. You have to force them. And don't you dare think, and let me tell you something, the person who was totally anti can end up supporting you. Why? Because you applied the political pressure. Let me tell you something. I know Donald Trump is a racist. But let me tell you something. You apply enough political pressure on him, you turn the whole United States against him, his polls numbers go down, and you put a demand on him, he will punk up and answer that demand. That's how it happens with majority of the politicians. They have their agenda for America, and they push their agenda and hope you jump on board. 10 years ago, nobody was talking about Medicare for all. It was a lost option where Hillary Clinton wasn't even entertaining it.
Health emergencies can't wait for us to have some theoretical debate about some better idea that will never, ever come to pass.
That's what never, ever happened. Got on Barack Obama because she thought Barack Obama's medical plan was attacked in hers.
Time and time again, you hear one thing in speeches, and then you see a campaign that has the worst kind of tactics, reminiscent of the same sort of Republican attacks on Democrats. Well, I am here to say that it is not only wrong, but it is undermining core democratic principles. Since when do Democrats attack one another on universal health care? I thought we were trying to realize Harry Truman's dream. I thought this campaign finally gave us an opportunity to put together a coalition to achieve universal health care. That's what Senator Edwards and I fought for and talked about throughout the campaign. Just because Senator Obama chose not to present a universal health care plan does not give him the right to attack me because I did. So let's have a real campaign. Enough with the speeches and the big rallies and then using tactics that are right out of Karl Rove's playbook. This is wrong, and every Democrat should be outraged, because this is the kind of attack that not only undermines core democratic values, but gives aid and comfort to the very special interests and their allies in the Republican Party who are against doing what we want to do for America. So shame on you, Barack Obama. It is time you ran a campaign consistent with your messages in public. That's what I expect from you. Meet me in Ohio. Let's have a debate about your tactics and your behavior in this campaign.
And it's come out cold day in hell when Democrats attack Democrats. This ain't about, see, and that's the problem. You're making this about Democrats versus Democrat. No. This is the problem with you nut cases. I don't give a I don't care about your party. Actually, I don't care about you. I care about the people who put you in office. For you to spit in their face, for them to put you in office, and you not submit to the needs that they put you in office for you to take care of, makes you a coward, a punk politician, and you don't deserve that position. Now, what the black community is saying, no, you need to addy up right now. We're not going to put you in that office because you said you're going to do it. Because we know that oftentimes when you get in office, you act like you're going to do it, but you cave in and become just like the rest of them. You're starting to see a little shade of it happening with AOC. A little compromise in here, a little compromise in there. 10 years later, middle compromise here, middle compromise there. 15 later, no more working for the people. No more working for the people. I'm starting to see that in the shades of Bernie Sanders. He's supporting military conflict in Venezuela and all that kind of stuff. And man, come on, man. You're talking Russian talking points, but you're supposed to be a revolutionist. You're already saying you're going to cave into the Democratic Party, you're going to support the nominee. What revolutionists do that? No. Donald Trump said, if they cheat me out of the Republican nomination, I'm running independent. I'm going to mess up the whole thing. And that's why he got a lot of people on his side, because he was willing, at least he said it with his mouth, that look, you do me wrong, me and my people are going to run independent. He never separated himself from his people. But no, Bernie Sanders in 2016 wanted the people to stay lashed on to him no matter where he go, when it was supposed to be the other round. Wherever the people go, you need to go, Bernie Sanders, because you're supposed to lead them in the revolution. And he didn't do it. He punked out. Now, why did you show all of that? Because the message of the day is a few things. Number one, the strategy of the Republicans is to call all Democrats socialists, even Joe Biden. Joe Biden's message is, we're bigger than this. We're bigger than racism, sexism, and all that kind of crap. The Democratic Party is not even that. It's that we got to do whatever we can to band together as one, all Democrats, to support the person who can beat Trump. Bernie Sanders saying we need to have policies that's going to assure us a way to beat Trump, and it's not within the Democratic Party. It's building Democratic Party, trying to get them in unity, because once I get elected, I'll have the independents and some Republicans to support me, and we can defeat Trump, not on that Stop Trump effort, not on we're better than this, but on the fact that we're going to reshape America to benefit all society. But yet, at the same time, he neglecting a society, a very influential, a very important society, one that built America into the greatest opportunity land in the world. Neglecting their voice and not taking time to listen to him could cause him to lose the nomination. Now, the only thing they can really get him on is this crime bill and reparation. Now, he put his own foot in his behind for his reparation. In the crime bill, whether he was for it or not, we do have evidence that he's fought for the support of some good things that was in the bill. He railed against the bad part of that bill. You saw it with your own eyes. None of the blacks did that. They probably sided with him, stood behind him. You know how they do. But Bernie admitted that he hated that bill. He hated some of the parts of the bill, and we need to get that taken out. That need to be amended. But I have to support it. You're forcing me to support it because we need these other things in this bill, and you won't separate them. And like I said, in D.C., man, they're ruthless. They'll put you in a position where you're going to be forced. Because either way, we can end your career, whether you do or don't support it. We'll find some way to end your career, and you won't be able to do anything for anybody anymore. You go back to being the mayor of Burlington. Now, for people who want to say Bernie Sanders is a bigot, They have every right to say that because Bernie Sanders, especially right now, is being bigoted about reparations because it's all about what he believes and what should be done instead of meeting with them to find out what needs to be done and do it. Listen to the black community. And if they say they need a check and they prove that check to be valid, then you got to do it. And don't come up with where we got the money, because you don't say that about Medicare or no-cost education. The money is there. For him to blow that off is bigoted. For him to try to get a pass a bill to get a check for his people and not do that for other people, that's a bigoted move. If you really love something, you will spend time with them, you'll listen to them, and you listen to them. That's what my mom told me about being married. I never took advice. It's always about me and what I think, and that's why I've been divorced twice. I never sat down and heard from her. Listen to her. Take the copious notes. Anyway, this whole thing was supposed to be about the difference between Joe Biden and the crime bill and Bernie Sanders and the crime bill, and how super racist Joe Biden's was about the crime bill, because you've seen that video I did about Joe Biden and his stance on the crime bill, and you've seen how Bernie Sanders was doing trying to bring up the fact that this is racist. Biden wasn't bringing up that fact. Bernie Sanders was bringing up, this is a racist bill. It's going to disproportionately hurt black people. What are you guys doing? Now, I don't mind you fighting crime, man, but this is ridiculous. And why you put this in the bill? Yet he still voted for it. When he could have voted no. Joe Biden crafted all this stuff up. Joe Biden is a sneaky, crafty SOB. And he knew that bill was going to define people's careers, including his. To this very day, he stands on that being one of his finest achievements, knowing that it decimated the black community. Bernie Sanders tried to fight everything, I believe everything in his power, to voice how detrimental it is and try to get it fixed and put it on a platform, let everybody hear this is wrong. But he only can do what he can do. Me personally, I would have voted no against the bill. I would have went up front and said, I like what's in the bill. I'm going to work on these separate, because in order for me to vote for to support that, I have to throw my support for them doing whatever they need to do to the black community, and I'm not going to do that. And that makes him side with, in a sense, side with Biden for his support for the bill. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. He could have said, look, I hate this bill, I'm not voting for it. I understand. My people want good gun legislation. My people want something to help to deal with women against violence. They know that. That's why they put in the bill. They're trying to destroy my career. But I'm going to take a recess. Go talk to my people back in Burma and let them know I can't support this bill. I know we need this, I know we need that, but you got to be with me to make sure I stay in Congress so I can come up with a bill to deal with these issues separate instead of some pork in the middle of a draconian, bigoted, racist bill. He could have did that. He didn't. Political fear make you do stupid stuff. Like I said, to his credit, he did stand against it on that Senate floor. But was that enough? Was that enough?
Talked about capital punishment. So sometimes, and I also had to vote to make sure that we had a violence against women provision in there. If you see what I said on the floor at that time, I talked about mass incarceration. I talked about capital punishment. So sometimes in the real world, in the Congress, you got big pieces of legislation that have bad stuff, and God knows that legislation had bad stuff. And right now, I'm one of the leaders in the fight for criminal justice reform, so we don't have more people in jail than any other major country on earth.
Hey, thank you for watching that episode of the Rob Report. Before you go now, I need you to do two things for me. First thing, I want you to like the video if you liked it. Second thing, I want you to share it all across social media. And if you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stop and do it. As Jimmy Dore says, sometimes you think you're subscribed or you go check and find out you're not subscribed. So make sure you check that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I put a new content out. And not a fan of Super Chat, so if you plan on giving to the efforts of Bob TV, make sure you do that through Bob TV NYC at paypal.me. Anybody who want to have free access to my Patreon channel, I'm trying to save you money on your cable bill. I ran into a program that I think everybody need, everybody can afford, and everybody should have, and that link is down there below. 5,000 plus channel, best sports package, and the best premium TV, and even international channels, and you can access this all over the world. Go ahead and check that out, get your free trial, and if you decide to support, become members of those two services, we'll go ahead and give you full access to the Patreon channel, and there's no cost to it. So my name is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Thank you for watching. I'll holler at you later. Peace. Hey, thank you for watching that episode of the Rob Report. Before you go now, I need you to do two things for me. First thing, I want you to like the video if you liked it. Second thing, I want you to share it all across social media. And if you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stop and do it. As Jimmy Dore says, sometimes you think you're subscribed or you go check and find out you're not subscribed. So make sure you check that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I put a new content out. I'm not a fan of Super Chat, so if you plan on giving to the efforts of Bob TV, make sure you do that through Bob TV NYC at paypal.me. Anybody who want to have free access to my Patreon channel, I'm trying to save you money on your cable bill. I ran into a program that I think everybody need, everybody can afford, and everybody should have, and that link is down there below. 5,000 plus channel, best sports package, and the best premium TV, and even international channels, and you can access this all over the world. Go ahead and check that out, get your free trial, and if you decide to support, become members of those two services, we'll go ahead and give you full access to the Patreon channel, and there's no cost to it. So my name is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Thank you for watching. I'll holler at you later. Peace.